Good morning. Happy Friday. Thank you all for being here. We have a great interview coming up this morning with Venitra White-Dean. She's the executive director of the Frankie Mae Foundation. A couple quick things before we get started. The first is I want to make sure everyone has their calendars marked for our Friday Facts sessions. They occur the second and fourth Friday of each month at 8:30 in the morning. And also, please make sure your calendars are marked for our monthly coalition meetings. They occur the third Friday of every month from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you can find a schedule of all of our upcoming events and meetings on our website, and I'll place a link to that in the chat. Outside of that, please introduce yourself in the chat and post any questions that you have along the way during the course of the interview. With that, Heather, I'm going to pass things over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome everyone to our Friday Facts. I don't know how it is there, but this sort of overcast, kind of rainy Friday for me. This is so exciting to have Venitra White-Dean. She is my new best friend. We've only met for 10 minutes ago, but already the rest of you were sort of getting it in the way, in a funny way. We were, the three of us were already chatting and there's things in common. And then we were like, oh, we need to open it up and include the rest of you in this conversation. So I'm so excited to have Venitra here. And she is the executive director of the Frankie Mae Foundation. I'm not always great about sharing websites, so let me say right in the beginning, it's www.frankiemayfoundation.com. They are a nonprofit, but I saw it's .com. And Virginia, maybe if you can put it in the chat, because it's a really great website. So I always forget to do shout outs of websites, and I don't want to do that this time. Venitra, it's really, really wonderful to have you here on Friday Facts, coming to us from Charlotte. So hello and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, well, we have a lot to talk about. You have passion areas that hit close to home and close to the heart of many of us here at the coalition, especially your work around caregiver support. And I see Karen Appert's on, who actually heads up our patient and caregiver engagement work group. And this is exciting. So I want to turn the virtual mic over to you. I want to get all into the Frankie Mae Foundation, but first we always like to start with understanding you a little bit more and your background and what experiences shaped your journey so far.
Yes, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for hopping on. And it's good to see a familiar face on here, Dr. Montoro Rodriguez. So Dr. Montoro, just pretend this is your first time seeing me, hearing my story and all that stuff. So, again, thank you for the opportunity. Any chance I get to share my story, to help caregivers, I am all on board. My background is actually accounting. I am an accountant by trade. I have my bachelor's and master's in accounting. So my accounting world was kind of flipped upside down. In February of 2012, we got a diagnosis for my mother of Alzheimer's. And she was living with us at the time because my father had recently passed and she didn't want to live alone. So, just seeing things differently with her day to day and then finally getting that diagnosis. Well, being an accountant, I know balance sheets, I know income statements, I know cash flow statements. I don't know anything about Alzheimer's. So it was just kind of learn as you go, reaching out to different resources, reaching out to different people, because I honestly had no clue what it was to be a caregiver. And we made the decision, my husband and I, and thank goodness for him, he was wonderful throughout this entire process. But we decided early on that we were going to age in place with Mama as long as it was safe for everyone involved. And it was. She aged in place. She stayed with us until she passed away in September of 2020. And I always use the last 7 months of her life as kind of my story. Even though we went through almost 10 years of the Alzheimer's journey, those last 7 months were just a combination of so many emotions. It was joy, it was heartbreak, it was laughter, it was crying. And when I say crying, I mean like ugly, sobbing, just like gut-wrenching crying throughout those last 7 months. We were right in the thick of COVID. March of 2020 is when she started her last decline. And so, but just we took such advantage of spending that quality time with her one-on-one. We had no choice. We were stuck in home. So, just spending time with her, sitting out on the porch, sitting in the garage, that turned into our thing. We were just loving on her more and more and more. And just that time with her made me realize there are caregivers out there, even though I realized it before, but just COVID made me just realize there are caregivers out there that don't have a husband or don't have siblings, or they have siblings and a spouse that don't really step in and help out. And so I was like, I have to do something to help other caregivers through this journey. And so I talked with my siblings. I have a brother and a sister still here in Charlotte. And I talked to them. I said, I want to do something with caregivers. I want to start a nonprofit to honor mama. I have no clue what it looks like. Again, accounting, know nothing about nonprofits. So we just kind of started talking about what we wanted to do to help other caregivers. And so we started the Frankie Mae Foundation. And it just has kind of grown with the help of the caregivers. I know as a caregiver with my mom, what we needed and what we wanted. And every caregiver is different. And so we just kind of started in January of 2022. We started, and at our very first meeting, there were 18 people. And of those 18, 5 of them were me, my husband, our daughter, my brother and sister. So it was 13 caregivers there. And I'm like, hey, I want to love on caregivers. What do you all need? And in my mind, I was thinking, oh, we're going to have a caregiver support group, quarterly caregiver support group, and that's what we're going to do. Wrong. The caregivers were like, we want to meet every month. We want to do caregiver chats on Zoom. Like they had all these ideas that they wanted. And so what started out as 13 caregivers in a small coffee shop has blossomed into, we have a monthly meetup this coming Saturday. Tomorrow, we have 70 people signed up for our monthly meetup tomorrow. So the caregivers love the socialization, the camaraderie. Our main program is the monthly meetups, and it's the last Saturday of the month. And we have a speaker to come in, and that speaker could be someone from the Department of Social Services. It could be someone from the Alzheimer's Association. And the caregivers aren't strictly for Alzheimer's. It is for a caregiver that is caring for anyone with a chronic illness. It just so happens that 98% of our caregivers are caring for someone with Alzheimer's. But we have a speaker, we have lunch, a catered lunch. I like to eat. Sandwich and chips are fine, but we have good catered lunches. And then we also do a fun activity. And I stress the fun activities because many of you know caregivers don't take a lot of time for themselves. They're like, you want me to play putt-putt? You want me to have a sip and paint? Yes, I want you to have a sip and paint. I want you to play putt-putt. I want you to do something fun. So we dedicate at least an hour of our monthly meetup to doing something fun. And every month is something different. And the caregivers have such a great time just being around other caregivers, knowing that they aren't alone. That's the biggest thing, just knowing that they aren't alone. And the caregivers themselves have formed bonds with each other. These are ladies and gentlemen that did not know each other 2 or 3 months ago or last year, but I'll get text messages or pictures from them out and about in town doing their own thing. And just knowing, again, knowing you have that support system. We have a group of volunteers that reach out to the caregivers on a regular basis just to check and see How are you doing? How is your loved one doing? Do you need anything? And when I talk to the caregivers at the monthly meetup, they're like, thank you. Just knowing that someone is thinking about us on a regular basis means the world to them. And during our monthly meetups, we also have a caregiver store. And in that caregiver store, we have briefs, we have bed pads, we have gloves, body wash, any other toiletry that the caregivers could use on their journey. These are donated through corporations, through individuals, and the caregivers can come and get what they need for free. If it's something that they need and we don't have it, I get on social media, see if anybody is donating. If not, we have money set aside that we will purchase these items and have them shipped directly to the caregiver. And one of the highlights of this entire process is being our first year, just trying to figure out how we're going to fund this, how we're going to fund this, how we're going to fund this. We were one of out of 100 nonprofits that applied for United Way grant this past year. We were selected one of the 25 that received a $25,000 grant through United Way. So we are so proud of that, and we use those funds to help offset some of the costs to fund the caregiver store. And also last year, we had some caregivers that could not come to the monthly meetup on a Saturday because they didn't have anyone to sit with their loved ones so they could come. So that $25,000 from United Way also helps. We have partnered with some home health care agencies in the Charlotte area. So we pay for home health to come to the home so that the caregiver can come to the monthly meetup and they don't have to worry about scrambling around trying to find someone or coming up with the funds to pay for someone to sit with their loved one. And we have just, again, the collaboration, just the friendships. I call it our village. And we have our family reunions every month at the monthly meetups. And I tell the caregivers all the time, even though I'm not a caregiver anymore, just being around them and being part of their journey, it helps me through my grieving process just as much as it helps them to be around each other. So I get as much out of these meetups as they do. And we've just blossomed, we've grown, we've formed relationships. We also partnered, and I do surveys with the caregivers and ask them again, what is it you need? What do you want? And over the past few months, I kept seeing and reading mental health, mental health, mental health. So reached out to a nonprofit in the area, and they have agreed to do free therapy sessions, mental health therapy sessions for our caregivers. So we will be starting that. All the paperwork has been done. We will be starting that in July. So again, this is all about the caregivers. This is caregiver focused. This is just helping the caregivers. And I could go on and on and on and on. So stop me and ask questions.
I'm not stopping you. I haven't, because it is so, first of all, it is so beautiful, and you're moving my colleagues to tears. It is amazing, the support. I had a bit of a sneak peek because I spent time on your beautiful website, and so much the love that you are putting forth even in this discussion. I don't know if I've ever seen a website and the language that it says over and over again, we are here for you. Mm-hmm. And then you really start to speak about how you envision a community where no caregiver struggles emotionally, physically, or financially. And you hope to give caregivers peace of mind. And I saw that, so I knew coming into it, but you have just outlined so beautifully. And I saw pictures on your website. I've never seen support groups that big. I mean, normally you see 4 people or 10 people or 15. And, you see these pictures and the smiles on their face. So not only are you giving folks a place to see and be seen and get support, but also I had no idea about the store and to get resources, the mental health. you are just motivated to keep going and going. And there are other services that I know you provide. So talk a little bit about, I saw something called the Land Rover Defender, and you have writing clubs and other respite services. So that meetup was one of a number of things that you're offering. So I'll let you keep going about those.
Yeah, so the Land Rover, and I probably need to take that off of the website. We tried to, we filled out grant paperwork, and that was part of the grant process. We had to do a video and express what our needs were. And we were trying to get a vehicle because I am using my personal vehicle, driving all around town, picking up donations of Depends. And we've also, Hospice of Greater Charlotte has reached out, and we get a lot of supplies from Hospice of Charlotte. They in turn reached out to the outer Lyon counties that touch Mecklenburg County. So Lincoln County has reached out to me. I've driven to Lincolnton to pick up stuff from Lincolnton. So we were just trying to get a vehicle so the foundation could have a vehicle to go and pick up wheelchairs and all that stuff. So that was why that Land Rover is on there, because we were trying to get a grant through Land Rover. And I completely forgot what your second question was.
No, well, it was just about your different services, but you know what? Put it out to the universe. I know it's amazing. I know I've helped organizations receive vehicles. You never know who's donating one out, or communities, or I used to work at a retirement community and we donated out vehicles. So anyway, put it out there and maybe you'll get it. But I was wondering why it was called the Land Rover. But going back to your services, and if you don't mind, you've mentioned funding a little bit, and I'd love to dive into it because you are a nonprofit. You've answered one of my questions that you are receiving outside funding. Are all of your services free for folks? I saw that people can have eligibility for membership. So I was just sort of curious about how the funding and how you're operating, because this is amazing.
So yeah, it's in addition to the United Way grant, our donations have been donations from individuals. The November of 2019, right after we filed all of our paperwork with the government, with the state, we kicked off our end of the year fundraising to start the year in 2022. My years start running together, but we kicked off our very first fundraiser event, and my brother's birthday is November 20th. So we kicked it off on his birthday, and by the end of the year, I'm one of these go big or go home. So I said, listen, I want us to raise $10,000 between November 20th and December 31st. That sounds crazy, and it is crazy, but our tagline was on our way to 10K. And by December 31st, we had over $15,000 in donations from people sending in $100, $200, $20, $50. So that was our very first fundraiser. And last year, we did the same thing from November 20th to December 31st. It was on our way to 16K. I'm like, if we raised 15,000 last year, surely we can get 16,000 this year. And sure enough, we got $16,000 in donations from individuals. These aren't big corporations that are donating. These are individuals. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're hitting the ground like, please donate, please help us care for the caregiver. And that's how we've been sustaining. We have been asking individuals to donate, and now we're getting more into trying to apply for grants, because a lot of the grants, they want at least a year. They want to see your 990. They want to see your year financial statement. So we're at that point now that we can really start getting out there and trying to find some major funding dollars to keep this going. And I completely forgot. In addition to our monthly meetups, we have started, one of the caregivers said, hey, I want to do some fun stuff just fun. We don't want speakers. We just want to have fun. So she has become we have made up a title for her. She's our social events coordinator. And so once a month, in addition to the monthly meetup, we do something fun, strictly fun. And a corporation here in town has decided that they will fund $15 per caregiver for whatever it is we want to do. And so the caregiver may have to come up with a little bit outside of that, but we have a corporation here that has given us $15 per caregiver to go out and do something fun. So last month we went on a comedy bus tour around Charlotte. It was so fun. Next week we're actually doing axe throwing. So just something fun, something different, and the caregivers can just get out and breathe and just have a good time. And I keep talking about having a good time and breathing and all that, but we also are a safe space for them to cry, for them to, because trust me, you will cry, you will gripe and complain, you will feel bad, and so it's no judgment. Like, hey, if you want to cry, if you want to talk about your brother not helping you or your spouse not helping you, feel free. This is your safe space. And no, we are here for you, whatever emotions you have going on. So
yeah, this is okay. So many amazing things, and I know we're going to run out of time soon. So I'm just saying, you have found your home with the North Carolina Serious Illness Coalition. You just embody so much of what you have. So many colleagues here that know what you're talking about and believe in this, and we want you to be a part of us. I'm amazed at how I loved your quote when you talked about how you're an accountant and balance sheets and income statements, but not Alzheimer's. And yet you're using all of the gifts and skills of your accounting, because now you're running a nonprofit and you are really doing a phenomenal job, it looks like. And I feel like a lot of good is about to come in terms of bringing in the finances. But I do want to give a shout out before we end up. You've gotten some interesting initials along the way. You are a CDP, a certified dementia practitioner. So you also got additional training, and I was curious about your work specifically within dementia and becoming a practitioner yourself in order to support others, and kind of in addition to your balance sheet skills and clearly everything you know about caregiving. Which is
yeah, I thought it was very important to bring something other than my personal experience to the table. I can talk about how we took care of my mom and what that was like, but I also wanted to do some educational component to it. I wanted to learn from other people. I wanted to know some of the clinical things that went on with this process, some of the educational, some of the legal things. All that, I think, is what makes me and makes the foundation what it is, because you need more than just that personal experience, even though the personal experience to me is up here. But I still wanted something else to go along with that personal experience. And I also am a community educator with the Alzheimer's Association. And so just gleaning help and assistance from people that have been out there doing it longer than I have, and just learning from them and soaking up that educational piece from them as well. And Dr. Montoro is on here, and I'm going to call him out. I've learned so much from him as a caregiver TLC facilitator. I went through the training with them and facilitated a 6-week session with them. So it's just having the full package to me is what the foundation, and not just the foundation, what everybody needs in order to make this successful.
Well, there's a lot of exciting next steps, I'm sure, for you. Charlotte, one of our coalition members, has just put in the chat, you go big. Please consider replicability of the foundation for spreading this best practice in our state and beyond. The foundation is brilliant, so needed. We can spread the word. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Charlotte. That's actually a good lead into one of we have time just for, I think, one more comment part, which is how can we help? We do share so much in terms of what you have done with caregivers is so inspiring, how you've turned your experiences and your grief and your love into supporting other caregivers. And as a coalition, we focus on caregiver support. It's one of our main pillars of activities. How can we work together? How can we collaborate? What clearly we'll put this up there and so can help to promote your story through our Friday Facts and through other convening practices that we have with the coalition. But what are other ways that you're looking for us and other organizations to help support your work? And I'm so sorry we don't have a big checkbook, because if we did, that'd be fabulous. But so clearly money from some, but how can we help with your journey?
The first thing is just to spread the word. Let caregivers in the Charlotte area know that if they are looking for a village, we are here. We're here with open arms. There's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful group of caregivers that they're ready to welcome you in. So if you could please just spread the word. And I completely forgot. We also started, we have about 15 men that are in the group, and Dr. Montoro, no disrespect, but we all know men and women operate differently. And we were trying to figure out ways to get the men involved, because there's always 2 or 3 that would show up at the monthly meetup. And I could imagine being in a room of 50, 60 women is overwhelming. So we actually started a group for just the men. They still come to the monthly meetup, but they meet quarterly. And at the first meeting that we had in April, we had 11 men there, which was awesome, because we're only having about 2 or 3 men at the monthly meetup. But, you know, the men get together, they do men things, they bond with other men. So that's something that is near and dear to me too, because my husband, who was helping me care for my mother, he operates differently than I operate when it came to my mother. So we did, you know, we started something for just the men. So please send some men, let them know we are there for them too. But yeah, just spread the word in Charlotte. And, you know, again, if you want to donate to us financially, we would love to take some donations. And if you know of anybody at a car dealership or anywhere that would be willing to donate a vehicle so that we could transport these items back and forth.
Okay, well, this is wonderful. I know my mind is sort of spinning with ideas. I know Karen is wiping away the tears and spinning with ideas. I know this is going to be the first of many times we're going to get together to talk about the work. There some comments in the chat. Yes, it's going to be on our website, both with Venitra's Friday Facts. We'll make sure there's a link to the Frankie Mae Foundation. And I'm sure there's other ways we can start to promote, especially we have a symposium coming up. So I'm already starting to think about ideas. Some of the suggestions that are coming through the chat line, I think this is Mary Lou suggesting, I hope you will consider working with the Area Agency on Aging folks who are all doing local support groups. That's in Mecklenburg. You could be an inspiration to how they might be able to do more. Charlotte is noting how wonderful it is you're working with men. And it's the first time we've had anyone ask for us to send men. So right there, you know, our listeners aren't going to forget about that. And I know that clearly I don't have to speak for the others, so you see it coming through the chat line, how inspiring this is. We could go on and on, but I'll stop in the interest of time. But just, I know that there's a lot of ways that we can connect, because you're providing so much tangible support as well as the emotional support. And so any ways we can help from the coalition, because you're helping so much the community. It's the least we can do, because you're helping so much in the community there. And I know on behalf of myself and the others, from one 52-year-old caregiver to
another 52-year-old caregiver.
we bonded on our age, and what you're doing truly is inspiring, and we cannot thank you enough for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you very, very soon. So thank you, Venitra, and
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.